Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, March 29, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season, that's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you all utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section, but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below, let me know what the that's been like in your year recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related questions that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go to the next 168 hours, that's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens represents inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place. As we head into Sunday morning, we see rainfall across eastern parishes. We also see rainfall to the south of Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Then on Sunday afternoon, we see rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes on the Euro. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Sunday morning has that rainfall to the northeast of us, and then Sunday afternoon has that rainfall across northwestern parishes. This is what Monday has in store for us according to the latest Euro. The latest Euro shows rainfall to the south of us, some rainfall right here across the eastern end of the island too. And then by the end of the day on Monday, we see rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show for Monday morning? We see rainfall to the southeast of us, to the northeast of us, to the west of us. And then by Monday afternoon, we see rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes, something similar to what the Euro was showing. What does Tuesday morning have in store for us? We see that according to the latest Euro, we have some dots of greens represent rainfall to the southwest of us, to the east of us. Then by Tuesday afternoon, we see that rainfall engulfing the entire island. Eastern, central, and western parishes definitely getting us some amount of moisture. The GFS has that rainfall to the east, north, and west of us as well on Tuesday morning, also affecting sections of some central and western parishes during Tuesday afternoon. Very interesting. What does the Euro have in store for us? On a Wednesday morning, what do we see? Rainfall to the southeast of us. What does Wednesday afternoon show? Some rainfall across maybe eastern, southern, and western parishes. What does the GFS show for the same time period? Wednesday morning, rainfall to the southeast of us, maybe across the eastern end too. Wednesday afternoon, rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. Very interesting. What does Thursday have in store for us? Rainfall across eastern parishes according to the latest Euro. The 18Z on the Thursday, April 3 map shows rainfall across central and western parishes. That's 1 p.m. on Thursday. Very interesting. What does the GFS show on a Thursday morning? Rainfall across eastern parishes, the waters to the northeast of us. Rainfall across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes by the end of the day on Thursday. Very interesting. What does Friday morning show us? We see rainfall across eastern parishes. Then Friday afternoon has that rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. What does the GFS show for the same time period? We see rainfall across the eastern end on Friday morning. And then we see rainfall across mainly central and western parishes by Saturday afternoon. And then we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. We're stopping it at around 7 a.m. on Saturday, April 5. And we see that rainfall to the southeast of us. We see rainfall across the north coast as well. What does the GFS show for the same time period? We see that rainfall across the north coast as well. So we definitely have the consensus for sure as we wrap up the end of the 168 hours. And even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are in consensus that it's going to be raining over the next 7 days, especially where we have the dark reds purples into the pinks across portions of northern and South America right here that we know represents what we see here on the key on the right. That's the 2 to 3 all the way up to 5 inches of rainfall range. And we see that it's not only the Euro that's showing that, but even the GFS definitely going to be affecting portion of northern South America. We also see some of the purples across sections of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, and even Guadeloupe and Dominica right there. The greens into the yellows into the oranges and the reds that represents all the way from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to an inch of rainfall should be plaguing portions of the ABC Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, the Windward Islands, the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, section of Haiti, Cuba, Florida, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Eastern Yucatan, Belize, sections of El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras. Definitely going to be getting on some amount of rainfall, and we can clearly see that there's consensus on both the year and the GFS models. But regarding Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation forecast maps, we see that over the next 7 days from now all the way up until April 5, we're going to be getting on some amount of rainfall. We see the blues into the greens into the yellows. That represents anywhere from a millimeter of rainfall all the way up to maybe 40 millimeters of rainfall. We see the Euro showing the most rainfall across the eastern and western end where we have these yellows. The GFS even showing some oranges in there that represents maybe up to 49, maybe 40 millimeters of rainfall east and the western end as well. And we know that most of this rainfall across the eastern and northeastern parishes are going to be during the morning, while across the central and western parishes during the afternoon. And whatever happens, I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here to the east of the United States, and we know the ridges of high pressure are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see a trough of low pressure right here to the northwest of Africa, frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the north of Hispaniola. Also have another frontal system extending into portions of the north coast of Cuba, the south coast or the southern portion of Florida into the Gulf. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before we lost the sunlight, we can make out all of the entities that we just mentioned. The clouds associated with the trough of low pressure spinning away right here to the northwest of Africa, the clouds associated with the frontal system, and the other one that is attached to into portion of the Gulf. Look at all of the abundance of clouds right in here. Lots of clouds, overcast skies, showers definitely taking place as we speak across portions of Florida, the Bahamas, section of Cuba as well. And we can make out the low to mid-level flow of the clouds being steered from east-west, all courtesy of the ridge of high pressure to the north. And we know that some of these low to mid-level clouds pushing through the Caribbean definitely have some moisture within them as well. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean a little later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, March 29, 2025. It was stated that rainfall was in the forecast of parts of northern and eastern parishes on Saturday morning, also affecting sections of some northern and western parishes during Saturday afternoon. And what ended up happening? Well, before we even take a look at what happened, we need to refresh our memory. We know that northern parishes, we're talking about those parishes on top, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, while eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Andrew, Kingston, and St. Thomas. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, like St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? At around 4:40 a.m., the Cuban Doppler radar imagery was posted on our Twitter page, as well as on our Instagram page over at Jamaica, on our TikTok page over at Jamaica, and on our Facebook page over at Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there, as you make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So the image shows the latest at that time, which was 5:40 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 4:40 a.m. Jamaica time. And just like in yesterday's video, it highlighted the greens into the yellows. That represents moderado, that's moderate rainfall. If not fuerte, that's strong or heavy rainfall in the yellows. Passing to the north of the island, some of which definitely scraped across sections of St. Anne, Trelawney in the early morning hours for sure. So that forecast definitely came to fruition, even although the eastern end didn't get in on much. And then by around 4:45 p.m., the visible satellite images were posted as well, and they highlighted some clouds. Look at the flow of the clouds pushing from east to west, and then we had all of the daytime heating causing all of the clouds to build, definitely built into the areas that we mentioned, sections of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, even portion of northern St. Elizabeth got on some amount of overcast skies, if not some isolated showers. We even see some sparkling yellow dots in there. that represent the lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes it. So it's definitely some amount of isolated thunder shower activity that took place. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, let's see, somewhere in here. So before we lost the sunlight, we can see that we were still getting on some amount of clouds across the western end, bring some overcast skies, if not some isolated shores, still to portion of St. James, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and Hanover too. And the infrared close-up satellite imagery confirms the convection that took place. We can see the blues that represent the high cloud tops being streaked off towards the east by that upper level wind shear, and we can see the sparkling white dots here and there that represent the lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes, that took place out west for sure. Did you get some thunderstorms today? Confirm if you live out west, let me know. Taking a look at the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel at around 2:49 p.m. today, we can see that it was definitely sunny for the most part. People walking about, going about their business, people in their vehicles going about their business. We can see that it was quite windy as well, as we see the trees moving and dancing in the wind. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint quite the picture of where we might have had that rainfall today. Definitely across section of some western parishes, definitely across section of northern parishes during the morning hours. I know that this map isn't 100% accurate, but it does paint quite the picture of where we might have had that rainfall for sure. And we have a few comments from some of our subscribers and followers. We have Active 4081 on our YouTube page stating cloudy conditions. We also have on our Instagram page Giovanni Panton stating Spanish Town sunny. Even on our Facebook page we have Trini RJ stating Porty is a beach day, so I guess it's sunny over there. So I guess it's the western end that got in on the rainfall for sure. And if we take a look at the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website, let's see what's happening right now. The latest still image is as of 0145 UTC, which is actually about 8:45 p.m. So this just came out 11 minutes ago, considering that it's 8:56 p.m. right now. And we can make out some clouds right here to the north of the island. We can make out some clouds right here across the western end, as well as the waters to the west of the island. Definitely possible bringing some isolated shores to sections of western Hanover, western Westmoreland. We also see some clouds somewhere in here, but maybe just some partly cloudy skies being experienced out east. And if we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar imagery, if it will show, let's see if it will update. Seems like it glitched out at around 23 p.m., which is actually 2:23 p.m. Jamaica time. Boy, Cuban Doppler radar sure can glitch out. And there we go, it reloaded, but it's still showing the glitched out times. And we can see that we're definitely getting some amount of rainfall out the west. Turn in, look at the greens into the yellows, and we see that moving, so we know that that's not ground clutter, not glitching the system at all. Definitely some decent rainfall that western Jamaica got when they were getting on their fair share of thunderstorm activity. If we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery, we can make out some amount of rainfall across sections of the eastern portions of Cuba, the western peninsula of Haiti, some rainfall between Haiti and Jamaica as usual. And if we take a look at the Cayman radar, we can make out some amount of rainfall, moderate to some light rainfall across section of southern Cuba, some isolated shores to the southeast and the southwest of the Cayman Islands, and that's basically it. If you take a look at the live camera from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, at around 8:55 p.m. we can see people in their vehicles going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather taking place, definitely dry conditions being experienced as we speak. And we can see that the Rio Cobra is definitely chilling for the time being given the dry conditions. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we're 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperature should dip down to about 23 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 22 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Alright, taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday, We can see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellows, some slight oranges. They represent up to 1 degree Celsius above normal temperature. And we know the normal temperature for the month of March across Jamaica is around 87.3 degrees Fahrenheit. And when that's converted to degrees Celsius, it's around 30.7 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 30.7 to 31.7 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. Now, unfortunately, we have at least one maintenance outage advisor here from my JPS Online's Twitter page to highlight. I know that we have to highlight this because we know that when we have power outages somewhere across Jamaica, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Sunday, March 30, 2025. And we are referring to Caledonia Road to Main Street in Mandeville, North Racecourse, all from the time period from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we have some tips right here to beat the heat as usual. It states here, wear lightweight clothing and use sunscreen, so dress down. Check on others, including children, elderly people with medical conditions, and pets. Be cool, stay indoors and make use of fans and air conditioners. Avoid alcohol and caffeine as they can make dehydration worse. Limit non-essential strenuous activity during the hottest parts of the day. And I cannot stress enough the importance of keeping hydrated throughout the day. Even if you're not thirsty, drink lots of water and put away those sugar drinks and drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those rays. And we see the abundance of dry air across the entire Atlantic basin. We know the dry air is responsible for keeping a cap on the Atlantic in general, making it harder for it to rain, making the atmosphere stable. But what we like to see is the break in the dry air. Some of these blues and the yellows that represent the low end of the scale in terms of dry air. We see a lot of the blues across portion of the Greater Antilles, the Eastern Pacific, the Intertropical Convergence Zone as well. That's all you want. We want the moist air so that we get some amount of rainfall to keep water in our pipes. Regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 18 UTC on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday, we can make out the string of Saharan dust, just some slight browns that represent the low end of the scale in terms of Saharan dust, extending across the Intertropical Convergence Zone into Northern South America, all the way over into Central America. We can clearly see that the Caribbean, for the most part, is in the clear for 1 p.m. on Sunday, and we're also grateful that it's the low end of the scale, if anything, that's passing through, because we don't want all of these dark brown shades that we see across portions of Europe and Africa. That represents that vigorous plume of dust that can cause very hazy skies, not to mention trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons, asthma, sinusitis, you name it. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're seeing that the least wave heights should be across the Gulf into the Western Caribbean, where we have the blues to dark blues that represent anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1.5 meter wave height, while the purples into the pinks anywhere from the Central to the Eastern Caribbean, the east of the Bahamas, the Eastern Caribbean, definitely some high wave heights over there. Jamaica's north coast, 1.2 meter wave heights tomorrow. South coast, up to 1.4 meter wave heights. And the reason for all of these strong winds, as we can see here, the bright greens into the yellows, that represents anywhere from 15 to 20 to even 25 knots coming in from the east, which explains the high wave heights out east. We don't see much yellows across the Western Caribbean to the Gulf, which explains the low wave heights over there. But regarding Jamaica's wind forecast for tomorrow, we see that the wind should be coming in from the east, averaging 13 knots on the north coast, averaging 14 knots on the south coast, and we see where the air should be piling up once again across maybe sections of some western parishes, maybe incorporating sections of northern Jamaica, so maybe section of Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, maybe northern St. Elizabeth once again, might get on that daytime heating rainfall. And with the upper level winds coming in from the west northwest tomorrow, we might just see a repeat of what we have happen today when we had the convection being sheared off towards the east, when we had that convection burst briefly, but it's going to be more so towards the east southeast that is going to be blowing on Sunday. And if we actually take a look at the rainfall forecast map now, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And we have some differences and we have some similarities. The euro is a bit more robust regarding the rainfall forecast for 3 p.m. We see the blues that represent rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. The GFS is more so concerned with western Jamaica, where we see Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, Trelawney. But we also see some dots of blues across St. Mary, section of St. Andrew, the east of St. Thomas. So could we be in for some amount of rainfall across eastern Jamaica, like what the euro is showing? It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Will the GFS win and have more of the rainfall out west? And maybe the euro not really bring us any rainfall across central and eastern Jamaica? Or will it be the euro that's winning, bring us rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes in general? It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs on our other social media platforms. Even the total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are showing something similar to the 1 hour totals. The euro showing the greens into the yellows into this gold that represents from 0.1 of an inch of rainfall all the way up to 0.29 of an inch of rainfall across eastern, central, and western parishes. The GFS is more so concerned with the rainfall out to the northwest, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, Northern, St. Elizabeth. Just like what we saw in the 1 hour totals. It's going to be interesting to see how it actually plays out. Let's see if the GFS wins. Let's see if the euro wins. Which one do you think will win? Either way, whatever happens, we'll definitely take it because we're in the month of March. We're wrapping up the driest month of the year. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to 10 millimeters of rainfall for the month of March. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.2 inches of rainfall for the month of March in terms of rainfall. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives for the month of March or for the entire year in terms of rainfall, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website will show you that information. And you can use this nice graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the calculations yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus your attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a lot of clouds pushing through associated with the frontal system into the Bahamas, Florida, section of Cuba getting on the action too. We also see some moisture pushing through the Leeward Islands as well. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar imagery of the northeastern Caribbean, let us confirm. Look at all of the greens represent some light to moderate rainfall passing through Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts to the east of St. Martin. Some rainfall passing to the south of the US Virgin Islands, the south of Puerto Rico. And if we load these images from earlier today, we can see that section of Puerto Rico definitely got in on some moderate to heavy rainfall out west. Some isolated shores right here to the southeast of Puerto Rico, some of it across eastern and central Puerto Rico too. And regarding the Barbados radar, you can definitely make out some isolated shores right here, pushing in from east, northeast, west, southwest into portions of Dominica, section of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Some rainfall pushing into sections of Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago as well. Even the weather wave Doppler radar imagery showing that rainfall across sections of Florida, northern Cuba, section of Colombia, Guyana, Suriname, sections of Trinidad and Tobago, just like what we saw a while ago. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, clearly the most rainfall is going to be across sections of Suriname, French Guyana, Guyana, southern Venezuela, western Venezuela, Colombia, also section of Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Florida into the Bahamas, even section of Panama, Costa Rica, eastern Nicaragua, El Salvador, the Cayman Islands, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, section of the Leeward Islands getting on the action, even Puerto Rico. And we can clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in agreement with this forecast. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.